A giant screen fell in front of horrified fans at a concert of Mirror, Hong Kong's most popular boy band.
Directly hit by the panel, a backup dancer got seriously injured and remains in intensive care. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I'm Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. And now for the headlines. Massive quake in northern Luzon results in millions worth of damage to agriculture and road infrastructure. The Philippines detects its first monkeypox case. Health authorities report the patient is in isolation and under monitoring. Chinese President Xi Jinping warns U.S. President Joe Biden not to play with fire over Taiwan. 8 people dead after deadly flash floods hit Kentucky. And Sesame Street theme park faces a $25 million lawsuit for racial discrimination. The magnitude 7 quake in northern Luzon has left infrastructure damage worth approximately 400 million pesos. Authorities are rushing to complete their clearing operations to ensure passable roads in areas affected by rockfalls and landslides in the Cordillera Administrative Region or CAR. Madeline Villar Moratillo reports.
The Department of Public Works and Highways says damage to infrastructure brought by the massive quake in northern Luzon has reached 396.5 million pesos. DPWH Secretary Manuel Bunoan said the estimated damage cost to National Road is at 104.53 million pesos, while damage to bridges in the Cordillera Administrative Region, Ilocos Region, and Cagayan Valley reached 292.05 million pesos. The agency also reported that 5 roads in CAR and Region 1 are still not passable to motorists. They are the Lubuagan-Batongbuhay Road in Kalinga Province, part of the Baguio-Bontoc Road in Mountain Province, part of the Tagudin-Cervantes Road in Ilocos Sur, and part of the Cervantes-Aluling-Bontoc Road also in Ilocos Sur. The closure is due to the ongoing clearing operations by the quick response teams following rockfalls and landslides in the said areas. The DPWH is hopeful that the roads will be clear and accessible around 5 o'clock in the afternoon of Saturday, July 30. Madeline Villar Moratillo reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Meanwhile, damage to farm infrastructure in earthquake-hit northern Luzon has reached 28.7 million pesos. The Department of Agriculture, in a statement, said the Cordillera Administrative Region and Ilocos Region sustained damage to their irrigation systems, farm-to-market roads, and farm structures. The National Irrigation Administration in the CAR region also reported 5 million pesos worth of damage to its satellite office in Abra. Nevertheless, the Agriculture Department said it is working to ensure the transportation of food and primary commodities is unhampered as the Department of Public Works and Highways leads efforts to clear up and open major roads in the affected areas.
6 were reportedly dead, while 136 others were injured following a powerful quake that hit northern Luzon. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council confirmed 5 of the casualties, while it is still verifying the other one. 5 fatalities were reportedly from the Cordillera Administrative Region and 1 from the Ilocos region. Meanwhile, 4 people were said to be missing, while 136 were hurt in Ilocos, Cagayan, and Cordillera. A total of 79,260 individuals, or 19,486 families in 246 barangays in Ilocos and Car regions were affected by the quake. Of them, 5,819 individuals, or 1,622 families, are staying in evacuation centers. And DRRMC reports that 1,512 individuals, or 360 families, opted to go to their relatives and friends to seek refuge. The tremor damaged 1,583 houses. Among these, 1,535 were partially damaged, while 48 were totally damaged.
The Philippines has recorded its first monkeypox case today. The patient is a 31-year-old Filipino who traveled from a country with documented monkeypox cases. Wang de la Fuente has the details.
The Department of Health has confirmed the detection of the first monkeypox case in the country. In a briefing, Health Undersecretary Dr. Beverly Ho told reporters that the case involves a 31-year-old Filipino who arrived in the country on July 19. He was tested on July 28 and turned out to be positive for the virus based on their RT-PCR test at the DOH Research Institute for Tropical Medicine. The patient has been discharged and is undergoing strict isolation and monitoring at home. The DOH identified 10 close contacts, 3 of whom are from the case's household. They all show no symptoms but are under strict monitoring of the department. Dr. Ho did not mention details of the patient's travel history but said he came from a country with confirmed monkeypox cases.
The case has been discharged well and is undergoing strict isolation and monitoring at home.
Unlike COVID-19, DOH said monkeypox is a virus transmitted to humans through close contact with an infected person or animal or contaminated materials. The DOH advised travelers to immediately seek medical attention if they develop a fever, swollen lymph nodes, or kulane, and rashes. An investigation into monkeypox cases in non-endemic countries reveals sexual contact as a potential mode of transmission.
It spreads mostly by intimate sexual contact with those who have rashes or open lesions. Minimize close sexual contact with suspected cases, especially those with rashes or open wounds. Keep our hands clean, wear face masks, cover cough using our elbow, and continue to choose areas with good ventilation or airflow.
The DOH assured the public that the country is ready to detect the virus and is in discussion with the United States for the procurement of the vaccines. Unlike COVID, the health department said only a select population is going to be vaccinated against monkeypox. Wang de la Fuente reporting for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The low-pressure area spotted off northern Luzon has now developed into a tropical depression. State Weather Bureau Pagasa said the weather disturbance named Ester further strengthened around 2 o'clock in the afternoon today. As of 5 p.m., the storm was spotted 835 kilometers east of extreme northern Luzon with maximum winds of 45 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 55 kilometers per hour. Ester is forecast to move west-northwestward at 15 kilometers per hour. Pagasa warns that the combined effects of Ester and the southwest monsoon will bring light to moderate with at times heavy rains over southern Luzon and the western and eastern portion of Visayas. Ester is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility tomorrow afternoon. In the special weather outlook for northern Luzon, the Weather Bureau said earthquake-hit areas in the region will experience cloudy skies. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council assured that it will continue monitoring the situation in Abra and neighboring provinces, which are still experiencing aftershocks. As of 10 a.m. today, around 1,071 aftershocks were recorded by the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology in the said areas.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has presided over a special cabinet meeting to discuss the proposed national budget for next year. Here's Vin Pascua to tell us more.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. convened a special cabinet meeting this morning about his administration's national budget proposal for 2023. Press Secretary Trixie Cruz Angeles said the Department of Budget and Management made the presentation on the proposed 5.2 trillion peso national budget that would prioritize programs on education, health, social safety nets, infrastructure, and agriculture. BBM has committed to passing the proposed budget before the year ends.
Nagpresenta po ang Department of Budget and Management at ipinakita yung proposed submission for Congress. Pagkatapos ay may mga konting input galing sa iba't ibang mga kalihim para sa fine-tuning na ito. Makakapagsumite ang department sa Kongreso on time by next week.
Angeles said they couldn't discuss as to how much allocation each department will be getting because the proposed budget is still being fine-tuned. However, the official said the bulk of the budget proposal was crafted mostly by the previous administration.
Topmost, of course, is still the right sizing, but the same priorities hold true. The Constitution requires the biggest budgetary allocation for education, so it's still the same. Hindi po masyadong nagbago from last year. I would like to remind you that most of the budget was created by the last administration.
Angeles added that a part of the discussion is the resumption of classes by the Department of Education. The president, meanwhile, congratulated Interior and Local Government Secretary Benhur Abalos for the successful 60-kilogram drug-by-bus operation in Pampanga. The president also expressed his concern about the first monkeypox case in the country. But unlike COVID-19, Angeles said monkeypox is not fatal.
His primary concern was to get the information out so that people will be aware, but also to be aware that the systems of the DOH are in place and that this is not the same as COVID.
Then Pascua reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Up next, Xi Jinping warns Joe Biden against playing with fire over Taiwan. North Korea's Kim Jong-un threatens to use nuclear weapons in potential military conflicts with the U.S. and South Korea. And Kentucky flash floods submerged houses and killed at least 8 people. More stories coming your way when Mata ng Agila International returns.
Naguguluhan to.
Ito pong si Alin nagnakaw dito sa resort.
Eh wala ba sa inyong naka-witness?
Oh, wala yun. Tama na muna nga.
Ayoko nga sumama kasi ako na naman ang pagbibigay niyo ng gamit niyo.
Hindi na. Kasi ikaw na yung magsasagwan, sira yung motor ng bangka. Bilis! Tara!
Ilalagay ko itong mga bolang ito dito sa beach. Tapos hahanapin ninyo. Okay! Okay!
Sa ating ginagalang na tagapamahalang pangkalahatan ng Iglesia ni Cristo, Ka Eduardo Manalo, 10 ng buong pamunuan at mga kasapi ng Iglesia. Nais kong ipaabot ang aking taus-pusong pagbati ng maligayang anibersaryo sa ika-108 taon ng pagkakatatag ng Iglesia ni Cristo. Hangad ko ang patuloy na tagumpay sa pagsasakatuparan ng inyong dakilang misyon ng pagpapalaganap ng mabuting aral ng ating Panginoon at ang paglulunsad ng inyong mga proyektong kapaki-pakinabang sa ating mga kababayan at sa buong kapatiran. Muli, Maligayang anibersaryo sa Iglesia ni Cristo.
You're still watching Mata ng Agila International. U.S. President Joe Biden and his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping spoke on the phone yesterday for more than 2 hours. The White House describes the conversation between the two leaders as candid. The Chinese president reportedly warned the U.S. leader not to play with fire over the self-ruled island of Taiwan. Taiwan has close ties to the U.S., but China considers the East Asian nation part of its territory. Tensions around Taiwan are steadily escalating amid fears that Xi could ultimately order an invasion to impose Beijing's rule. Chinese authorities are furious at unconfirmed plans by Biden ally and Speaker of the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi to visit the island. The White House underscores that the U.S. strongly opposes an effort to change the status quo or undermine peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait.
According to Washington officials, the U.S. military would increase its movement of forces and assets in the Indo-Pacific should Nancy Pelosi travel to Taiwan. The officials believe China will not likely attack the House Speaker's plane should she decide to visit the island. The armed forces could possibly deploy fighter jets, warships, and surveillance systems to ensure Pelosi's safety. Meanwhile, RT News reported that the USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier and strike group have redeployed to the South China Sea amid simmering tensions over the House Speaker's possible visit to Taiwan. Such deployment made China's foreign ministry accuse Washington of flexing its muscles once again. However, U.S. Navy Commander Haley Sims insisted that Reagan was on normal scheduled operations as part of a routine patrol. Earlier, U.S. officials had accused Beijing of aggressive and irresponsible behavior, with Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Zhao Lijian responding that it is clear who is the biggest threat to the South China Sea and the Asian region's peace and stability.
Pyongyang leader Kim Jong-un says his country is ready to mobilize its nuclear deterrent in any future military clash with the U.S. and South Korea. Washington and Seoul have repeatedly noted that Pyongyang is preparing to carry out its 7th nuclear test, a move that the U.S. has warned would provoke a swift and forceful response. In Kim's latest speech to mark the armistice that ended fighting in the Korean War, known as Victory Day in the North, he said the country's armed forces were thoroughly prepared for any crisis. Pyongyang's official Korean Central News Agency quoted Kim as highlighting the country's thorough readiness to deal with any military clash with the United States. His latest threats come as South Korea and the U.S. ramp up joint military exercises, which have always infuriated Pyongyang. Asked about Kim's remarks, U.S. State Department spokesman Ned Price said they were not categorically different from what they've heard from the DPRK regime over the course of recent months and years.
As parts of the U.S. suffer from drought and scorching heat, the state of Kentucky was submerged in water from flash floods caused by torrential rains. According to state authorities, the flooding has taken the lives of at least 8 people, and the death toll is expected to reach double digits. Multiple parts of the states are dealing with the aftermath. Houses, roads, and cars have been overtaken by flood waters. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear describes the impact the flooding has on the state.
We're currently experiencing one of the worst, most devastating flooding events in Kentucky's history. The situation is dynamic and ongoing. In most places, we are not seeing receding water. In fact, in most places it is not crested yet. What we're going to see coming out of this is massive property damage. We expect the loss of life. Hundreds will lose their homes, and this is going to be yet another event that it's going to take not months, but likely years for many families to rebuild and recover from.
Officials of San Francisco, California announced they are declaring a public health emergency over monkeypox that will go into effect on August 1st. San Francisco Mayor London Breed tweeted about the declaration, saying it would allow the city to dedicate resources to prevent the spread of the virus and speed up the health department's emergency response. The mayor's tweet included a link to a Medium.com blog post that provided additional details regarding what the emergency declaration would mean for the health department's response to monkeypox. The announcement will also enable San Francisco to expedite emergency planning and staffing, in addition to helping the city get emergency funding from the state and federal governments. Earlier this week, State Senator Scott Weiner called on San Francisco and California to declare a state of emergency over the spread of monkeypox. Breed, Weiner, and other city officials held a briefing to give an update on the city's monkeypox response and to discuss the low supply of vaccines available. Authorities say San Francisco needs 70,000 doses of the vaccine to keep up with the growing demand. According to U.S. CDC, the United States has recorded 4,639 monkeypox cases, which is the highest in the world. Though more monkeypox vaccines will be coming to the Bay Area, news reports say the quantity is still not enough to meet demand in the region.
At least 5 Hong Kong dancers were injured after being hit by a falling screen at a concert of the city's most popular boy band, Mirror. Footage of the incident circulating online showed a group of white-clad dancers performing on stage at the Hong Kong Coliseum when a giant overhead video screen fell and crushed a man. The screen then toppled onto at least one other person before the remaining performers rushed to help. Mirror's manager, Afa Wong, later took to the stage to apologize and asked the audience to leave. The city's Queen Elizabeth Hospital said one dancer with a neck injury was in intensive care, while another was in stable condition after getting a head injury. Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism Kevin Yong said in a late-night statement that the Hong Kong government has halted Mirror concerts until the stage's structure is proven to be safe. Shocked by the incident, Hong Kong's leader John Lee has ordered a comprehensive investigation into the safety requirements of similar shows to ensure the safety of performers, the crew, and the public. The 12-member band's latest concert series was eagerly anticipated by fans, and tickets were quickly snapped up. But the shows have been plagued by technical faults since debuting on Monday, leading fans to question their safety.
British Conservatives Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss underwent their first grilling in front of party members as they wage a bitter duel to succeed Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Defense Secretary Ben Wallace used an editorial in the Times Daily to throw his support behind Truss, saying she was the only candidate who has both the breadth and depth of experience needed. Former Finance Minister Sunak has denounced Truss's fairy tale economics, vowing to tame surging inflation first, but he has admitted that he is the underdog in the contest.
Look at the overall tax system in the round and make sure it's fair. And my view of fairness is we need to reward people who do the right thing, who work hard, who set up businesses, who earn money, and who want to pass it on to their children.
On foreign policy, both rivals used the debate to extend Johnson's staunch support for Ukraine and to resist China's increasingly authoritarian rise while profiting from vaguely defined Brexit opportunities. Sunak also touched on the issue of illegal migrants, saying UK is a compassionate and welcoming country, but insisting that borders should be controlled. Truss confidently said her Yorkshire upbringing had given her grit, determination and straight talking.
Because I'm a Conservative, of course. Once we grip inflation and ensure that mortgage rates don't rise and cripple people, I'm going to cut taxes. Because I'm a Conservative, of course I'm going to deliver tax cuts. I want people... There is no way that a Prime Minister and Chancellor cannot be...
There were plenty of hard-nosed questioning from Tory members in Leeds as the latest hustings opened the bout of 12 nationwide events, pushing the grassroots members to elect a new leader. The result will be announced on September 5.
After violent and deadly clashes gripped Papua New Guinea amid election disputes, officials and law enforcers struggled to restore peace in the capital city, Port Moresby. Here's Hortaleza Quinola with an update.
The atmosphere in the national capital city has slightly calmed down after the unrest and violence that gripped the streets days ago. However, schools, some business firms, and other roads remain closed. Law enforcers are working round the clock to restore peace and order. City leaders encourage the candidates to talk to supporters and end the violence, allowing normalcy to return to the capital. As of this report, counting of ballots has resumed in Surgeon Stadium under the supervision of the Papua New Guinea Defence Force and Papua New Guinea Royal Constabulary Police.
In Port Moresby, we're having a general election where of Electoral Commission will be declaring all the members who is leading the race. I think some boxes will be left, so the others runner-up will be feeling frustrated. So they will demand the Electoral Commission to give another 7 days so to continue the counting. Otherwise, they declare that whoever is leading, when they declare, it's going to create some chaos in Papua New Guinea. As a Papua New Guinean man, I wish the outcome of the election, I wish a peaceful man and a good leader to take a prime minister and run our country to bring our economies and the standard of our country back to this level.
There is also a proposal of extending the date of writs return from the original July 29, 2022 deadline to August 12, 2022 to complete all ballot countings in the entire Papua New Guinea. Hortaleza Quinola, Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Russia has carried out strikes across Ukraine as Kyiv stepped up its efforts to retake the occupied southern Kherson region. Officials said 5 people were killed and 26 were injured when missiles struck the central city of Kropivnitsky. 3 people also died in Bakhmut in the east. Near Kyiv, 15 people were hurt at a military base. Ukraine's northern and southern regions were also hit. Ukraine continues to seek and isolate Russian troops in the country's south. A key bridge into the city of Kherson is out of action after Ukrainian forces struck it with long-range rockets supplied by the U.S., making it impossible for Russia to send deployments and weaponry. But Ukrainian military has warned that Moscow is now redeploying its forces from eastern Ukraine to defend the Kherson region. It is said that control over Kherson is important for Russia as it provides a land corridor to Crimea, Ukraine's southern peninsula annexed by the Kremlin in 2014.
Nearly 100 migrants found abandoned in a locked truck in Mexico. Parents file a $25 million racial discrimination lawsuit against a Sesame Street theme park. And millions of Americans under extreme heat warnings. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short break.
Happy 108th anniversary po sa ating mga kapatid sa Iglesia ni Cristo sa pamumuno ni Ka Eduardo Manalo. 108 years din po ito na pagmamalasakit at pagtulong ninyo sa iba't ibang sektor ng mga Pilipino. Bahagi man ng INC o hindi. Kaya maraming salamat po at kasama niyo po ako sa paggunita ng inyong anniversary na ipinasa natin sa ilalim ng Republic Act 9645 declaring July 27 as a special national working holiday in honor of Iglesia ni Cristo's founding anniversary. Gusto ko rin pong magpasalamat ulit sa inyong tiwala at suporta noong nakaraang halalan. At ngayon pong nagsimula na ang bagong administrasyon at kongreso, asahan niyo po ang patuloy kong pagiging lingkod ninyo at ng buong bayan sa pagsugpo sa kahirapan at pagpaunlad ng buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Sa suporta ninyo, magagawa natin ito. Kaya, muli, happy anniversary po at pagpalain po kayo palagi ng ating mahal na Panginoon.
This portion is brought to you by Source Alliance.
And we're now back with more news here on Mata ng Agila International. Nearly 100 migrants traveling in a truck were found abandoned in Mexico. This comes a month after over 50 migrants were left to die in a scorching hot tractor-trailer truck in San Antonio, Texas. The migrants were discovered Wednesday night on a highway in the eastern state of Veracruz. Authorities say the vehicle was headed for the U.S. border. Migrants told police that the driver of the truck had abandoned them. Civil protection authorities said that 98 undocumented foreigners were found at the site, including several children. They did not specify the migrants' nationalities. Witnesses told Mexican media that around 100 more were believed to have fled. About a dozen people were reported to have been taken to the hospital due to bruises and symptoms of asphyxiation. Transporting migrants in overcrowded trucks is one of the most dangerous methods used by people smugglers in Mexico.
The U.S. Coast Guard says at least 5 people drowned and 66 others were rescued as a boat suspected to be involved in human trafficking left the group in waters near the island of Puerto Rico's west coast. Take a look. Park rangers on the island made the grim discovery of the bodies in the water. 2 minors were among the 66 people rescued and brought ashore. It was not immediately clear how many people were aboard the boat. The nationalities of those on board were also not known. Dozens of people have died in recent months in the Caribbean while attempting to reach U.S. soil. Many of the victims come from Haiti, the poorest country in the Americas, which has endured a serious political, economic, and security crisis for years.
U.S. President Joe Biden calls on Congress to pass his Inflation Reduction Act of 2022, set to allocate $369 billion for clean energy and climate initiatives. It also includes $64 billion for state-funded health care.
Now, let me be clear. This bill would be the most significant legislation in history to tackle the climate crisis and improve our energy security right away. It'll give us a tool to meet the climate goals that are set, that we've agreed to, by cutting emissions and accelerating clean energy, a huge step forward.
Biden says the bill will reduce inflationary pressures on the economy and is the most significant legislation in history to tackle the climate crisis.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen refuses to say the U.S. is in a recession. She cites areas of strong economic growth, but acknowledges the real pressure on families from inflation. Yellen says what's happening today has not happened in decades.
We simply haven't seen anything like this since... Good afternoon. We simply haven't seen anything like this since the 1970s, and seeing what's happening to food prices and energy prices and rent and other prices in the economy is making families very concerned about their household budgets. They want to see it end. And this is pressure that's real, that we recognize, and it's the president's top priority to bring inflation down.
According to official data released Thursday, the U.S. economy contracted for a second straight quarter between April and June.
Thousands of people protest in Buenos Aires demanding a universal salary in crisis-ridden Argentina. Protesters gather outside the presidential palace where center-left President Alberto Fernandez was meeting his economy minister Silvina Batakis. Batakis is opposed to such an idea, as rumors abound that a cabinet reshuffle is in the works. Protesters believe that poverty has taken control of the country. Argentina is gripped by an economic crisis marked by soaring inflation and rapid currency devaluation. Frustrated at the government for the deteriorating social conditions faced by ordinary Argentinians, radical leftist groups close to the Frente de Todos ruling coalition have for weeks been demanding a universal living wage. Protesters demand a living wage worth 67,000 pesos or around $490 at the official exchange rate. This amounts to the cost of 2 basic food baskets for the country's lowest earners.
The United States urges the Democratic Republic of Congo to protect UN peacekeepers after deadly anti-UN protests in the country's volatile east claimed at least 19 lives. 3 peacekeepers from India and Morocco were killed Tuesday in an attack on a base of the UN mission in DRC known as MONUSCO. Many local people resent the mission as having failed to stop decades of armed conflict.
Over the past 4 days, there have been protests against MONUSCO in Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo. A number of these protests have turned violent, resulting in the unacceptable and tragic deaths of UN peacekeepers and UN police officers and Congolese protesters. We call on the national and local authorities in the DRC to ensure the protection of MONUSCO sites and personnel, and for protesters to express their sentiments peacefully. We appreciate the government of the DRC's commitment to investigating these events and holding accountable those responsible.
The UN Security Council, in a rare joint statement amid soaring tensions between the West and veto-wielding Russia, condemns the attacks in DR Congo in the strongest terms. It warns that targeting peacekeepers may constitute a war crime.
The father of 2 black girls ignored by a man dressed as a Sesame Street character filed a $25 million lawsuit against the theme park, claiming pervasive and appalling race discrimination. The suit, which seeks class action status, was filed in a federal court in Philadelphia against SeaWorld Parks. Sesame Place apologized in a statement for the incident and explained that the actor simply couldn't see the children due to his limited field of vision in the Rosita suit. Sesame Place also said in a statement sent to Eyewitness News that they will review the lawsuit file. They also look forward to addressing the claim through the established legal process. Sesame Place stressed that they are committed to delivering an inclusive, equitable, and entertaining experience for all their guests.
As much of the United States bakes in record high temperatures, President Joe Biden has stopped short of declaring a climate emergency. More on that story from France Jillian Valerio.
The heat wave is so severe that heat advisories have been issued for more than 75 million Americans. 14 million of those people live in areas described as excessive heat spots. That's where the temperature regularly exceeds 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius. More than 60 lawmakers in Congress have urged President Joe Biden to declare a climate emergency, but so far, the president has resisted. The White House does say such a declaration remains an option. Instead, Biden has pledged to spend millions of federal dollars on climate change measures, upgrading infrastructure and installing air conditioning in homes. A climate emergency would allow him to increase support for renewable energy programs. It could also be used to block oil or gas drilling projects, something that would likely be challenged in court. Some law experts believe the declaration could suffer the same fate as former President Donald Trump's national emergency to build a wall on the country's southern border. Courts ruled the action as exceeding his authority. In the meantime, as the U.S. is scorched by a continuing heat wave, Biden says he takes climate change seriously and will take significant action on the issue. France Jillian Valerio, Los Angeles, California. Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
A deadly virus has swept through Zurich Zoo, killing 3 Asian elephants in a month and leaving experts stumped as to how to stop its spread. The zoo overlooking Switzerland's largest city now has only 5 of the majestic creatures roaming its 11,000 square meter elephant enclosure. 2-year-old bull Umesh was the first to fall victim to the elephant endotheliotrophic herpes virus at the end of June, followed by his 8-year-old sister Omisha just days later. Last Saturday, Urwani, a 5-year-old female from second matriarchal herd, also died. They succumbed at lightning speed to the herpes virus, which leaves young Asian elephants with internal bleeding and organ failure.
Elephants, in captivity, we know it's like the main cause of death for elephants between 2 and 8 years. So it's unfortunately quite common, but we also know it happens in the wild as well.
It's kind of sad, especially because here in Zurich, I think the elephants do have enough space, and so it is kind of sad when they have to die.
Dr. Pascal Marti, conservationist of the Zurich Zoo, said the virus is not a problem for adult elephants because they have a good immune system and they've built antibodies against it. But for the young elephants, it can be a problem. Up next, Nestle hikes prices due to unprecedented increases in costs. Uefa probes pro-Putin chants at a football match in Turkey. And Shakira faces call for an 8-year jail term in Spain over tax fraud charge. Mata ng Agila will return with more news after this break.
Masiglahin ang araw ng linggo. Kayo'y maaantig.
Huwag mo ubusin ang luha mo sa wala dito.
Mapapaisip.
What are we gonna do?
Matatawa.
Why so much food? Even no money, no honey, we make utang-utang.
Mapapahanga. At mapapainda. Kasama si The King, ang nag-iisang comedy king Dolphy.
Ano pangalan mo? Big po. Big po. Ano mo si Fernando po?
Tito Vic and Joey.
Mahirap ikwento, Vicky. Mahabang istorya.
At marami pang artista na kinagigiliwan noon magpahanggang ngayon. My love, my endless love. Sine Throwback. Tuwing Linggo, alas 12 ng tanghali sa Net 25.
Binabati ko ang Iglesia ni Cristo sa pagdiriwang ng kanyang ika-108 anibersaryo. The INC has always been a fountain of strength and stability during troubled times, an effective molder of Christian moral values, and an ever-reliable partner of the state in promoting peace and harmony in our country. More power to you.
Back to Matanang Agila International. Any new Tesla purchased from July this year will only have free online connectivity for 8 years. The auto tech giant is finally putting an end to its unlimited standard connectivity internet connection, which has been included in all Tesla vehicles, with now a new 8-year time limit. After the 8-year expiration date, Tesla owners would have to pay a subscription fee for functions that were previously free, like navigation. Tesla announced the move not long after BMW's controversial plan to introduce paid subscription services for heated seats.
Instagram will pause features that users have campaigned against and likened to those of TikTok, according to a report in the platformer tech newsletter. Celebrity sisters Kim Kardashian and Kylie Jenner are some of the most vocal users to have posted messages on social media this week, calling for the company to make Instagram again and stop trying to be like TikTok. The slogan sprang from a Change.org petition that had received more than 229,000 signatures as of late Thursday. Instagram chief Adam Mosseri responded to the controversy earlier this week with a video on Twitter in which he said the features were a work in progress and being tested with a small number of users. Mosseri said they were glad they took a risk, but definitely they will need to take a big step back and regroup. He argued that the shift to more video would happen even if the service changed nothing, as users increasingly share and seek video snippets.
Kit Kat maker Nestle has put up its prices again due to unprecedented increases in costs. The Swiss food giant said it had increased prices by 6.5% in the first half of this year. The hike came in as McDonald's and Coca-Cola also announced price rises this week. Chief Executive Mark Schneider said price increases were implemented in a responsible manner. Now, he added that they had to limit the impact of unprecedented inflationary pressures and supply chain constraints through disciplined cost control and operational efficiencies. Consumer prices in the UK are rising at their fastest rate for 40 years as companies battle increased costs for things such as wages, fuel, and ingredients.
European football governing body UEFA has launched a disciplinary investigation into the behavior of Turkish fans at the Champions League qualifying match between Fenerbahce and Dynamo Kyiv. The chants were clearly heard at the Fenerbahce Stadium in Istanbul shortly after Vitaly Buyalski scored the opening goal for Dynamo in a game the Ukrainian team went on to win 2-1 after extra time. Uefa did not adhere to a request for comment on whether the chants should count as banned discriminatory language or could fall under a rule excluding provocative messages of a political nature. Fenerbahce rejected the chants, saying it wasn't fair to blame the club. The team also says the chants do not represent the stance and values of the club and its fans.
The Commonwealth Games in Birmingham kicked off with a vibrant open ceremony headlined by British pop band Duran Duran. From the UK, here's Keith Dimabuyu for the details.
British pop giants Duran Duran headlined a glitzy Commonwealth Games opening ceremony in Birmingham on Thursday as more than 5,000 athletes braced for battle. Competitors from 72 nations and territories, many of which are former British colonies, will be vying for medals in 19 sports over a jam-packed 11 days in the English Midlands. The opening ceremony, where Prince Charles declared the Games open at the revamped Alexander Stadium, paid tribute to the industrial heritage of this city and celebrated the diversity of its modern makeup. Away from the marquee athletics and swimming events, women's 2020 cricket makes its debut at the 22nd Games, and 3-on-3 basketball will feature as well for the first time. The relevance of the quadrennial Commonwealth Games, first held in 1930 as the British Empire Games, has come under scrutiny, with persisting questions over Britain's colonial legacy. But British Sports Minister Nigel Huddleston is adamant there is still a place for the event in the sporting landscape. It does have meaning, he said. It might not be what it was in the past, but it's evolving and changing, and that focus on values and what can unite us is key. From London, United Kingdom, this is Keith Dimabuyu for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Have you dug into the new trailer for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever yet? Marvel's highly anticipated sequel includes actress Dominique Thorne, who's making her debut as Riri Williams before appearing in the Disney Plus Marvel series Ironheart. Thorne appears at least 2 times in the first trailer for Black Panther sequel. In one scene, she's dressed in an orange 2-piece outfit and greets Shuri. In the comics, Iron Man Tony Stark gave Williams his blessing to build the Iron Man-esque suit of armor, thereby earning the superhero name Ironheart. The first season of Ironheart is scheduled next year, with Chinaka Hodge serving as the head writer.
Spanish prosecutors said they would seek a prison sentence of more than 80 years against global music superstar Shakira after she rejected a plea deal on accusations of tax evasion. Prosecutors in Barcelona will also demand a fine of nearly 24 million euros or $24.5 million from the Hips Don't Lie songstress, whom they accuse of defrauding the Spanish tax office out of 14.5 million euros on income earned between 2012 and 2014. Shakira, who has sold over 60 million albums, rejected a plea deal, saying in a statement through her lawyers that she was absolutely certain of her innocence. She had decided to let the case go to court, confident that her innocence would be proven. The 3-time Grammy winner also slammed the complete violation of her rights and abusive methods carried out by the prosecutor's office. She claimed prosecutors were insisting on claiming money earned during her international tours and the show The Voice, on which she was a judge in the U.S. when she was not yet resident in Spain. A formal referral to court has not yet been announced, nor has a trial date been set. Lawyers for Shakira, one of the biggest names in the global music industry, say an agreement remains possible until the start of any trial.
In the city of Townsville in Queensland, Australian pottery artists are on center stage for this year's North Queensland Ceramic Awards. Morgan Goodfellow tells us more.
Townsville's Perk Tucker Regional Gallery holds an assembly of local, national and international exhibitions. This season, the North Queensland Ceramic Awards is happening. The biennial awards has long aimed to increase public exposure to a high standard of pottery from around the nation. A showcase for both well-known and emerging artists, this competition displays the diversity of ceramic art currently produced here in Australia. The City of Townsville Art Collection awards $10,000, aiming to provide opportunities for artists to become a part of one of the nation's most significant ceramic art collections. The prize also aims to ensure the continued growth of this important subsection of the City of Townsville Art Collection. A combined exposition will also showcase Pat Hoffey's high-vis exhibition, shining a light on the role of personal protective equipment in the Australian workplace. The inspiration behind the collection follows the artist's trip through Townsville, northern New South Wales, Tasmania, and the Flinders Ranges, seeing the changing faces of those wearing high-visibility uniforms, including women, First Nations Australians, and immigrants. This event is on until the 25th of September. The North Queensland Ceramic Awards is open to the public, sure to spark some interesting conversation about what each artwork means. As always, entry to the Perk Tucker Regional Gallery is free. Morgan Goodfellow, Townsville, Australia, Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Here are some significant events that happened today in history. In 1958, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration was established to coordinate America's activities in space. NASA was created in response to the Soviet Union's launch of its first satellite, Sputnik 1. The agency has since sponsored space expeditions that have yielded vital information about the solar system and the universe. In 1981, Prince Charles married Lady Diana in a grand ceremony with 2,650 guests. Their marriage was widely billed as a fairy tale wedding and the wedding of the century. Nearly 1 billion television viewers in 74 countries tuned in to witness the ceremony and the couple's traditional appearance on the balcony of Buckingham Palace. And in 2005, then-President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was ranked 4th among the world's 100 most powerful women by Forbes magazine. The ranking came as a pleasant surprise amid the political crisis besetting the Arroyo administration back then. As the Forbes editor wrote, they wanted to find women who had both global economic impact and cultural impact.
Topping off this week's broadcast is a quote from Christy Bowman, a nationally acclaimed wellness consultant in the U.S. We must treat ourselves with care, respect, and compassion before we can effectively extend these things to others.
Sometimes it's very hard to be nice to yourself because, as what they say, you are your worst critic.
Oh, that's true, but you owe it to yourself. As they say, you can't fill from an empty cup.
That's true. Well, I hope you guys remember that. It is the weekend, so much time for you to recharge before the new week. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am CJ Hero, and before your turn, we would like to say happy birthday to Congressman Mark Coletta, to Senator Villar, and happy anniversary, Ate Lolit, and to your husband.
Happy birthday, sirs, and happy anniversary. And I'm Nina Richie Alago Flores saying happy weekend to everyone. I hope it's been a great week for you. This is Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.